Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's January 4th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop, and you can see this absolute monster of a storm here going through its deepening process. Rapid cyclogenesis, dropping by more than 24 millibars in a 24-hour period. That makes it a bomb cyclone. It's just a descriptor. It's a legitimate scientific term. That's all that it means. It doesn't mean anything else but at the rate at which the pressure drops. Now, taking a look here, this is going to spread precipitation across the region here, and we're going to continue to get storms through the area here. Precipitation amounts been uptrending in some of the forecasts. We'll take a look at that during the extended forecast here coming up in a moment. Now, taking a look here, this is going to spawn some east winds ahead of it. You can see North Bend, Enumclaw area, some Stampede Gap winds, as well as some areas up north of Stevens Pass here, and some of the coastal areas will get some strong east winds. And as the storm moves up the coast, we're going to turn these southerly and southeasterly, especially for the higher terrain, the northwest interior, and some of the coastal areas. This is Boise, Idaho, shown here, talking about widespread valley rain and mountain snow out here. Just like to point it out when Boise does show some of these graphics out here, and you can see the snow levels here. So pay attention to your local National Weather Service forecasts wherever you are here across Pacific Northwest. This is strong gusty winds expected today into Thursday as the storm approaches. You can see the Oregon coast is really going to get roaring here. Some of the higher terrain as well down in Northern California, Klamath Falls, Ashland. Some of the I-5 corridor could be getting some pretty gusty winds, so heads up for that. Use caution when you're driving out there on I-5 down through Northern California, Southern Oregon. This is wintry mix here in Wednesday night, tonight through Thursday. There is some freezing rain possible, so heads up out there. That does include I-90, Moses Lake, Ritzville out there towards Vantage, just east of Ellensburg out there. So watch out for those slick roadways here. Nice graphic here from the National Weather Service Spokane. This is off in through Pendleton, Oregon here. Difficult driving for high-profile vehicles. You can see the winds that are going to be coming across eastern Oregon as you go through some of the passes and the higher terrain out here. Watch out for those winds out there. You can see the southeast component there gusting up to 55 miles per hour possible. Now, this is taking a look at the European on the left, the GFS on the right here, 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. You can see BC, Washington, Oregon here. Here's our giant storm off the coastline here. You can see it move up the coast and finally weaken. And additional systems continue to roll towards the west coast of North America on both the GFS and the European. Look at this agreement at Model 144 as of yesterday afternoon. Very good agreement on the active storm track moving into California and the Pacific Northwest here as we go on through the 10-day period, troughing remaining over the Gulf of Alaska. Now, taking a look here, timing of this precip as it moves up through Oregon and Washington. This morning, it's going to be occurring across southwest Oregon. You can see the precipitation in the form of snowfall across the Cascades up through BC. Not a bad snowmaker here with this system up into British Columbia, Vancouver Island, Olympic Mountains. And you can see the continued rounds of precip moving in as we continue to get systems and atmospheric rivers moving into the coast of Oregon here, spreading this precip all the way across. Look at some of these good snowfall amounts all the way through northeast Washington, British Columbia here, and then additional systems keep rolling through the area here. So it looks like the National Weather Service was wise to leave the above average signal here that we saw a couple days ago as these systems just continue to bombard the Pacific Northwest here as we go out through the 10-day period. So it's going to be wet, a little bit wetter than what we were showing here a couple days ago. Now, this is peak winds. I'm just going to bring this all the way out, and you can see the strong winds right along the coastline there, but not too bad for the interior valleys. But once you get up towards the Whidbey Island area and the San Juan Strait of Georgia, get some strong southeast winds. And of course, the higher terrain, watch out. Again, like I said, northeast Oregon, some of the higher passes here and the highways, and down through the southwest Oregon coastline here in the interior, the higher terrain as well is going to get some pretty strong winds with the system here and potentially more on in through the next week. Now, this is the jet stream. I just like to show this. I'm just going to let this run through, and you can just see this thing just like a snake moving across Pacific Ocean. You can see Hawaii is here. Here's Japan back here, and here's the west coast of North America. And this is just going to continue to feed systems into the west coast of North America, potentially some strong ones as well. We got to watch the track of these storms here for the Pacific Northwest. As these move up the coastline, they could be big wind makers too. This goes out 90 hours. This was last night's European run at 06Z, which is 10 p.m. Pacific time. Taking a look here, total precipitation in inches. Like I said, this has been trending upwards here. Here goes the system there, the big cyclone off the west coast. They're bringing that precipitation up across the area. Then additional storm systems, you can see Willamette Valley and the Oregon coast really getting bullseyed here. I mean, look at this atmospheric river for southwest Oregon showing up through next Monday morning. And Seattle's going to be dealing with a lot of precip. Vancouver Island, BC as well, especially Cascades West. And some good amounts here for portions of eastern Washington and Oregon as well. As you know, they're usually pretty rain shadowed. And there is some of that going on across eastern Oregon shown here. But look at some of these amounts through northern California and southwest Oregon. 4+ inches in the 10-day period. Nothing to sneeze at for Seattle as well. Also for Portland and the coastal areas. Now, this is snowfall amounts, total snow and Kuchera ratio. We're going to put this all the way out to the 10-day period. And look, some nice amounts coming for the Cascades of Washington, a little bit lesser for the Cascades of Oregon. They're in California getting in on the action as well. Big snowfall amounts coming up for BC, but no sign for it yet through the lowland, the valley, the metro areas as of right now. We'll continue to watch that as we go through the extended. There is some interesting signals showing up here. We'll take a look at those in a moment. Maximum individual wave height. You can see how Northern California, southwest Oregon here is kind of bullseyed by this system, but strong wave action all the way from Vancouver Island all the way down through Southern California with this just monster storm out here off the coast that we saw on the mid-level water vapor loop, and then additional storms moving towards the west coast here. Just a very active period here coming up for the west coast of North America, and a kind of a sinister looking atmospheric river setting up here again on through the 10-day period, but we'll worry about that as we go day by day. This is Southwest Regional Airport here on the Oregon coast. You can see all these big wind chances you got coming on here on through January 10th or so. As you can see through Thursday during the day, some big winds possibly as well. Some gusts up towards 50 miles per hour through this afternoon also. This is Astoria, not too bad, not on anything like you're not used to out there. Some gusts into the 40s, maybe upper 40s. Quileute up the Washington coast is actually looking like a pretty good blow coming in on the Thursday afternoon through Thursday night. So you can see some gusts over 50 miles per hour with the mean being over 50 miles per hour there, the ensemble mean. This is Salem. You can see lesser amounts, maybe some gusts up towards the lower 40s here, maybe some nuisance power outages. We'll see how that goes, but nothing too dynamic across the Willamette Valley. Seattle, Tacoma, same thing, just a blustery day, rainy, gusts into the 30s probably. So it shouldn't really be any power outages from this storm in the Seattle metro. This is Pendleton, Oregon here, some gusts up towards 50 possible, the higher terrain especially, like we talked about. Crater Lake National Park, look at some of these winds out there, looking at some gusts probably into the low 50s across the area. Prolonged timing of winds here as we go through this afternoon through tonight into tomorrow morning shown there. This is Orcas Island. Check out some of these gusts. The mean is all the way into the low 50s here. Gusts up towards 60 miles per hour in some of these ensembles showing up here. So heads up for some strong southeast winds as we go on in through Thursday night for the San Juan Islands. Whidbey Island might get some of that action too. Some upper 40s are possible. Some of the ensembles have towards 50 miles per hour. Now this is looking out at the European Pacific North American oscillation. You see how we're middling around here at about +1 there, and the models keep showing we're going to drop back down here in the second half of January here. So we'll see what that means. We have a lot of time to watch this right now, but it's just kind of pointing it out. And if we look at last night's run, it kind of hinted at the same thing, and the run before that as well. So I'm scrolling back and forth here, but you can see that it does show that signal here coming up through mid-January. And this is for the positive value here. The storm systems are out over the Pacific Ocean, kind of what we're in now, and that's why we're in positive territory. And then this is negative, where the trough would be over British Columbia and the west coast of North America here, dominated by a high pressure system over the Aleutians that allows us north flow back into the Pacific Northwest there. So anyway, that's what the Pacific North American oscillation is based on there. So anyway, yeah, look at this storm system. It is just truly amazing on the satellite imagery here. It does look like we're going to be dealing with some pretty heavy precipitation amounts across even some of the interior areas, more than what we saw just a day or two ago. So we're going to have to prepare for that, but it looks like some nice mountain snows are coming up here as well. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good day. We'll take this day by day. We'll continue to watch these storm systems, see how they're going to impact us here on the West Coast, and I will talk to you guys when tomorrow's briefing comes around.